Good day, everyone. Today you will going to learn about social, ethical, and legal responsibilities in the use of technology, tools, and resources. Before we discuss about digital citizenship, let us define first the digital citizen. Digital citizen is a person who has the knowledge and skills to effectively use digital technologies. This simply refers to the person who has the knowledge and ability to use technology in teaching the learners. One of the perfect example is our professor, Gianni Marie Deborah. Digital citizenship. This means engaging in appropriate and explanatory behavior in an online environment. Digital citizenship is an acceptance and upholding of the norms of appropriate responsible behavior with regard to the use of digital technologies effectively and not misusing them to disadvantage others. Digital citizenship includes number one, appropriate online etiquette. It is still important to consider the following information when contributing messages to a discussion. Number one, respect others and their opinions. It is important to respect their feelings and opinions, though they may differ from your own. Number two, consider others' privacy. Always ask for permission if you want to forward someone's email messages to third parties. Number three, pick the right tone. Since we depend on the written word in online learning, it is especially important to choose the right words to get your meaning across. Number four, do not type in all caps. Typing in all caps in online is considered screaming online. Various studies and the topic reflect that it is more difficult and takes longer to read text that is not in all caps. Number five, brevity is best. Be as concise as possible when contributing to a discussion. Your points might be missed if hidden in a flood of text. Literacy and how digital technologies work. They help students use critical thinking skills to evaluate the quality of digital sources and information, which in turn helps students communicate better. By, be- by teaching the digital literacy to students, they are being prepared to enter adulthood and be successful in their careers. The last one is understanding of ethics and related law. Digital ethics is study of how to manage oneself ethically, professionally, and in a clinically sound manner via online and digital media. Why is digital citizenship important in education? Teaching digital citizenship helps ensure that students are successfully practicing both respect and responsibility for themselves and others in a virtual environment. Today, with digital technology, educators track and judge students on their social media profiles, so it is important to teach students how to create characters online that show a positive and constructive image. Digital citizenship supports children and youth to participate safely, critically, effectively, and responsibly in the world of digital technologies and social networking sites. Lack of awareness about digital citizenship can lead to cyberbullying has, which often has serious consequences. Cyberbullying is a form of bullying or harassment using digital devices such as smartphones. We can prevent cyberbullying only by educating students about responsible digital citizenship. According to Mike Ribble and Gerald Bailey, there are 9 elements of digital citizenship. Number one, digital access. Although we live in the digital era, not everyone has access to technology. As educators, we should be aware of this digital divide. Not all students can afford a computer and internet access. That's why educators need to provide suitable alternativeness for each student's needs. Number two, digital commerce. Digital commerce highlights the necessity to tackle safety issues related to using money in the digital world. Technology is also used in the classroom to teach students about the various career paths that they could choose in the future. Number three, digital communication. Online communication has become so common that students forget that they are doing so in a virtual space, where miscommunication happens often. The internet has given a voice to anyone who needs it. In turn, this requires empathy and appropriate reactions from its users. Number four, digital literacy. This also includes the ability to differentiate between real and fake content, which can have a negative impact on the lives of your students. They need to learn which content is good for them and what they should avoid in order to lead a balanced life. Number five, digital etiquette. We should teach students to become digitally fluent. Digital etiquette shapes their online behavior to respond positively to online content. In this way, their online attitude is reflected in the real world and vice versa. Number six, digital law. The online environment has room for both positive and negative interactions. Digital law deals legal rights and restrictions governing technology usage to prevent any kind of online crime. Number seven, digital rights and responsibilities. The online world has its regulations and a user has rights and responsibilities. The internet can also be used for harmful purposes and anyone needs protection against cyberbullying. For instance, schools could Number 7. Digital rights and responsibilities. The online world has its regulation and the user has rights and responsibilities. The internet can also be used for harmful purposes and anyone needs protection against cyberbullying, for instance. Schools should approach this subject in classrooms, hold students accountable for their actions and also report any misconduct in the virtual environment. Number 8. Digital health and wellness. Students should be taught to protect themselves and others from potential harm and ask for help if they need it. Making use of online resources is a plus, but everyone should be aware of the dangers as well. And the last one is digital security. Security in the online world is important. When using the devices at school or at home, students should be aware of potential malware attacks. Teachers should explain how to prevent them from happening and how to protect their devices as much as possible. The roles and responsibilities of the global digital citizen are many and diverse. As a future educator, in this modern time, it is a must to practice innovation in teaching and learning in order to become a globally effective and globally competent digital teacher. So much for that. Now let's look at this remarkable figure through the eyes of global digital citizenship itself. The five tenets of the global digital citizen are personal responsibility, global citizenship, digital citizenship, altruistic service, and environmental stewardship. Personal responsibility is a crucial lesson for any student. It can be taught beginning at any grade level. The more students see the benefits of personal responsibility, the more interest they have in it. Here are some ways to encourage students to take responsibility for their learning. Number 1, don't make all the decisions. Allow choice. Encourage students to make decisions about how they learn best, create opportunities for them to pursue their own interests, and practice skills in a variety of ways. Number two, don't play what's in my head. Ask open-ended questions with plenty of possible answers, which lead to further questions. Acknowledge all responses equally. Number three, ask for feedback. Get your students to write down what they learned, whether they enjoyed a particular learning experience, what helped their learning, and what might help them next time. Number four, focus on learning, not work. Make sure you and your students know the reason for every learning experience. Don't start by planning activities. Start with the why and then develop learning experiences which will support independent learning. Global citizenship. This tenet reminds us that boundaries no longer exist. We are interconnected like never before. As such, we are all global citizens. Global citizenship recognizes how technology and digital media have dissolved those boundaries. It reminds us we are citizens enabled by communication, collaboration, and support across all levels of society. Here are some tips to promote global citizenship in the classroom. Number one, empower your students as leaders and teachers. Rather than simply trying to teach about multiple cultures, give your students the opportunity to teach others about their own cultures and perspective. Remind your learners that global citizens teach, listen, and learn from each other. Number two, take time to reflect on the world around you. Take some time once in a while to have discussion with your students about what's happening in the world. Remind your students that just because we are not experiencing certain things does not mean they're not happening around the world. Number three, take field trips. If possible, take your class on field trips that emphasize global perspective. This can include museums, orchestra halls, concerts, and more. Digital citizenship. Like what I've said earlier, digital citizenship is about having accountability for appropriate behavior, showing respect and responsibility for yourself, for others, and for property. It involves setting up a proper program of digital ethics and best practices for all. Such a program focuses on safe and respectful behavior in any online environment. Altruistic service. This tenet focuses on a healthy concern for the well-being of others. It includes embracing opportunities for charity and goodwill toward others. This creates relevance and meaningful connections to the real world for our students. Environmental stewardship. We have but one world to live in, and we're all on it together. Practicing environmental stewardship ensures we do our best to protect and preserve it. It's about a demonstration of common sense value. There are so many ways to appreciate the beauty and majesty around us every day. Environmental stewardship encourages us to do just that. It urges us to explore how to best make use of Earth's resources. It means taking responsibility and action on personal, local, regional, national, and international levels. Today's learners have the innate ability to easily navigate and use the web. The internet has evolved into a participatory culture, allowing students to create, connect, and collaborate with a global audience. But educators need to think of ways to train today's generation to be responsible and ethical lifelong learners of the digital age. Teachers must demonstrate, guide, and help students practice appropriate and professional behavior while actively participating in authentic learning experiences using blogs, wiki spaces, and more. The following tips can prepare students to be tech smart when using technology. Take care of technology equipment. Students must take care of the technology equipment. It is also important for students to learn to protect the technology resources. Malware, such as viruses, are even more prevalent today because of the increased use of email. Students should be alert and active at all times when encountering suspicious messages and links, and etc., to prevent computers from being infected with malicious software. Students should immediately let their teacher know if there may be malware on a computer so that any problems can be addressed right away. Explore appropriate and safe sites for learning and research. The internet is an immense storehouse of knowledge and should be used appropriately at all times. Students should use known and trusted digital resources. Teachers can initially provide students with a list of approved websites to use in class. However, students must be empowered to evaluate sites to make responsible and ethical decisions while surfing the net. This practice will be helpful when students recognize if information on a site is valid and credible. Teaching students to critically evaluate websites will prepare them for their future education and profession. Copyright law, Fair Use Act, and Creative Commons matter. Technology makes it easier to create, access, duplicate, and share information. It is therefore essential for teachers and students to understand the use of copyright material. Copyright laws protect an author's original work. The Fair Use Act permits the use of copyright material for educational and non-commercial purposes. To stay within safe parameters of the Fair Use Act, practice the 10% rule when using others' work. Help prevent cyberbullying. Prevent cyberbullying by discussing it, addressing it, and reporting it. Students interact with one another via social networks, chat rooms, blogs, and etc. daily. They can write just about anything on these platforms, which then can be forwarded to many with just a few clicks, causing more issues if the information is sensitive or hurtful to another. Teachers must provide a set of guidelines that addresses ways to prevent and handle cyberbullying. First, discuss cyberbullying and how it is unacceptable. Second, provide examples of cyberbullying to help students understand the importance of addressing this growing concern. Third, students should report inappropriate online interactions to their parents, teachers, counselors, and administrators immediately, whether they are a victim or bystander. Self image is important. Choose to promote a positive and professional image of self online. On social networking websites, students can share information about themselves globally. Keep in mind, however, that freedom of speech does not equate to freedom of consequences. Students must think before they post something online and make it available for the world to see. A potential problem of which today's learners must be aware is that employers check for information about prospective candidates online. Make use of netiquette. Be cautious and respectful when communicating with others online. It's best to think about and use netiquette. Netiquette can be defined as rules for online communication. Communication online is done on a variety of platforms, from social networks to email, and students must understand different rules for each mode of communication. Online etiquette must be addressed in today's classrooms. Teachers should allow learners to practice etiquette by providing them opportunities to communicate online via email, blogs, social networks, and etc. This will allow for opportunities to model etiquette. Always give credit to original source. When using someone else's work, it's important to give them credit. Copying or stealing someone else's work is illegal and is known as plagiarism. Students need to be educated about plagiarism and the consequences for not citing borrowed words from a source. Source citation should be taught to help students gain the knowledge and skills to cite properly. A number of students plagiarize unknowingly because they use quotations and paraphrase for sources but are unfamiliar with the citation rules. Students should be given opportunities to practice proper citation. This will help them understand how to prevent plagiarism. Teachers can also request that students start research early to collect sources and have students submit a draft to make any final edits before the due date. Remember to be effective, thoughtful, and ethical digital creators. Educators must teach students to be effective, thoughtful, and ethical digital creators. Students should be afforded opportunities to use digital tools to gain the necessary skills for the 21st century in order to help them be responsible users of technology. Of course, teachers must set expectations and guidelines to ensure students use technology properly. Teachers can have students blog about what they're learning in class, create a video explaining the steps for a math problem, create a graphic timeline, dissect a frog in a virtual environment, and etc. These opportunities and others can help students become responsible digital creators. And last, think. There's always a purpose for technology use. Think of how, when, why, and for what purpose you're using it. Think of ways to be creative and innovative. Think about communicating and collaborating with others globally to learn about another country. Think about how much students can learn via the internet. Think of using it to prepare today's learners to be successful citizens of the 21st century. Think of all the possibilities. It takes a team to prepare today's digital citizens. Parents, teachers, counselors, and administrators must work together to help today's learners be tech smart when navigating through the virtual world. Before we end our discussion, here is one of the meaningful quotes written by Albert Einstein. I can is 100 times more important than IQ. In reality, Life is difficult if we do not have ability. Intellect is impossible if we do not have the ability to be intelligent. Ability becomes the measure of life. Ability is our reality. Thank you for listening and God bless.